have to just say, anyone who has doubted me over the past decade about this evil woman now needs to eat some humble pie.
The reason why these pictures are so problematic for Meghan Markle is because these pictures place her with Jeffrey Epstein.
Meghan is at the bottom of the barrel.
In fact, I've seen the tapes. I've got them somewhere. God knows where now. I've got them on some
So you've seen Nudie Rudy Meghan too?
I've seen more than one thing.
She's a con artist.
It was really important to me. I remember where I come from.
It's going to be explosive.
I tried so hard.
Yesterday, we broke down what Tom Bower revealed inside Revenge. Camilla's 6 words, the sensible brand audit, and even that wild Johnny Depp comparison at 40,000 feet. We also touched on Sophie Shandoka reportedly telling Prince Harry that his wife had damaged his earning power. If you missed that breakdown, go watch it first because this picks up right where that left off. But here's the part that didn't sit right with me.
The yacht girl. Oh my God. Ghislaine Maxwell spoke. She said so. Virginia Roberts spoke. They both talked about Meghan Markle, but the world chose to ignore it. And even now, with these pictures out in the public domain, the press still refuses to expose Meghan Markle.
Something felt off. The Sussexes have taken hits before. From Piers Morgan, Samantha Markle, Valentine Lowe, even Thomas Markle Sr., and they ignored all of it. When Revenge dropped in 2022, accusing Meghan Markle of calculated image control and social climbing.
You through what Tom Bower has revealed. He's told the Daily Mirror, I've got a lot of new material already, and I think the whole world wants new insights. It's an amazing...
Silence. No response, no pushback, nothing. Even when Endgame caused chaos by exposing names tied to royal controversy, they stayed quiet again. But then suddenly, betrayal hasn't even hit shelves yet. And boom! Their spokesperson fires off one of the most aggressive statements we've ever seen, calling it deranged and melodrama. That's not normal. That's a shift. At first, it seemed obvious what triggered it. Maybe the brainwashing angle, maybe the financial collapse claims, maybe the Invictus footage. Fair guesses, but when you actually read the serialized excerpts in the Times front to back, something stands out.
Meghan Markle yacht girl claims simply will not go away. And you know I've spoken about this before, but until now, no one in the mainstream media has been brave enough to go there. Well, that has just changed.
The parts you'd expect to cause panic? They're not even the strongest ones. Harry's isolation, Camilla's warning, the charity drama, it's all there. But the one topic that could seriously damage credibility, the one that would actually matter long-term, it's missing. And that's where things get interesting, right? Because just 4 days after those excerpts dropped, someone at The Spectator said what nobody else was willing to say out loud.
Is going on, and Meghan and all the things that she has done to pull other people down and to question them and their behavior. Well, let's continue to turn the tables and talk about you, Miss Meghan Markle, and what you have.
Julie Burchill is not known for playing it safe. She's been pushed out of major outlets before, including the Daily Telegraph, and has faced backlash for past commentary, including a legal dispute with Ash Sarkar. By most standards, she's a controversial voice. No question about it. But here's where it gets interesting. She writes for The Spectator, a publication that's been around since 1828. This isn't some random blog. It's one of the oldest magazines in the English-speaking world, with editors, legal checks, and a reputation to protect.
And we also have this. This is Karina Shuliak, Epstein's girlfriend.
And the only times she traveled and went anywhere was with him. And guess who's on the other end with her Panama hat?
On March 17th, 2026, she dropped a column mocking Meghan Markle's upcoming luxury retreat in Sydney, tickets pushing close to 3,000 Australian dollars. The tone, harsh, personal, exactly what you'd expect from her style. But buried inside that piece was a line that made people stop and look twice. Not because it proved anything, it didn't, but because it referenced a rumor that for years stayed locked in the corners of the internet. Forums, anonymous posts, fringe discussions, and suddenly it shows up in a mainstream publication. not YouTube.
I want to ask Meghan Markle about her yacht girl past. To me, it feels like quite a significant moment. Because, of course, there is so much about Meghan Markle's time on those yachts that we do not know.
Not Reddit, not some random thread. A printed column inside the Spectator reviewed and approved before going live. That shift matters. For years, major UK outlets avoided even brushing against that topic. They treated it like it didn't exist, completely off limits. But this wasn't proof of anything about Meghan's past, not even close.
They tried to hide the files, and they failed.
What it showed was something else entirely. The line of what mainstream media is willing to touch might be moving, and that's a big deal. Because once a topic, no matter how unverified, crosses into established media, the conversation changes instantly. Not because it becomes
Find the missing pieces too, because I believe a lot of it was scrubbed off of the internet way before we even knew who Meghan Markle was.
According to Katie Nichol, speaking on Channel 4, Prince Harry asked Anderson to arrange a private setting, not a formal date, but an opportunity for the two to meet at Soho House. Now, to be precise, Anderson wasn't the original connection. Harry himself confirmed in Spare that Violet von Westenholz first introduced them via Instagram in July 2016. Anderson's role? Logistics, access, setting the stage. He was part of the environment where those early meetings happened. Then there's what Tom Bauer wrote in Revenge, 2022, that Meghan attended industry parties hosted by Brett Ratner multiple times over several years. He also quotes a former friend, Ninnicky Pretty, describing Meghan in highly critical terms. That's not my wording. That's a sourced quote from someone who knew her before the royal chapter.
Once a Soho House basic, always a Soho House basic.
Now, this is where things start getting sensitive. So we need to be careful and exact. At the time, a major stakeholder in Soho House was Ron Burkle, a billionaire investor. His name has appeared in publicly released documents connected to Jeffrey Epstein. But here's the key point. This does not establish any direct link between Meghan and Epstein. None. It simply shows the broader network of people and businesses operating in overlapping elite circles at the time, and that distinction matters a lot. Because once you blur those lines, you're no longer dealing with facts. You're drifting into speculation, and that's exactly where credibility collapses.
They couldn't keep these pictures hidden because there's just too many people involved. And now they don't care about protecting Meghan Markle anymore.
In January 2024, the name Ron Burkle surfaced again in newly released documents tied to Jeffrey Epstein. Not as a criminal charge, not as an accusation, but deep enough in the records to trigger headlines and renewed attention. And let's be absolutely clear. No credible reporting has ever established any direct relationship between Burkle and Meghan Markle. That claim simply does not exist. But here's where the conversation shifts.
She's been flown all over the world. The Suits cast members didn't understand where she got the money to fly business class all over the world.
Burkle was a major stakeholder in Soho House, the same social environment connected to Marcus Anderson who helped facilitate Meghan's early access into Harry's world. That doesn't prove anything on its own, but it explains why some commentators have started pulling on that thread in print. So keep that name in mind, Burkle, because it keeps resurfacing around these discussions. Now, fast forward to February 2026. Days after renewed headlines around Prince Andrew, a photo suddenly explodes across social media.
The privacy laws are pretty strong here, and that's what she used as a weapon at the time. So there were quite a few things about her personal life. I'll work them into another book.
7 women on a yacht, bright sun, perfect smiles, that polished Instagram look, and then 2 red arrows appear on the image, one pointing at Meghan, the other pointing at a woman labeled as someone linked to Epstein. The caption spreads fast, platforms light up, hundreds of thousands of views, then millions. But here's the reality check. The image itself? Real. Meghan is in the photo, no manipulation detected. But the identification of the second woman? Completely wrong.
Gentleman right here, that's Nick Jones, the original founder of Soho House. Guess where he's going there? He's arriving at Meghan Markle and Harry's wedding as guest of honor. Oh yeah, Soho was present there.
Fact checkers, including Snopes, looked into it. And the woman being labeled was not who the internet claimed. She was actually Flavia Versalone, a content creator with no verified connection to Epstein at all. The original image was posted back in August 2016 by photographer Carlotta De Luca, clearly tagging her by name. So what went viral wasn't evidence, it was a misidentified photo that spiraled out of control. And this is exactly how these narratives grow. One real image, one wrong label, and suddenly millions of people think they're looking at something explosive, when in reality, right, the foundation doesn't hold up at all.
And called Kevin Blatt. Now, he is a celebrity tape broker, ladies, where he describes a 2018 call from a woman claiming to possess a 4-year-old tape of a Meghan who is about to marry a prince.
Her name is Meghan, and she's about to marry a prince in England.
No, what?
Yeah, this story's not true, too. It is true. I believe this is Meghan.
She is so odious, it's beyond belief.
The woman, David Boies, chairman of a top U.S. law firm, gave an interview to the Daily Beast. And in that interview, he said his team had considered the possibility of deposing Meghan Markle not as a defendant, but as a potential witness. His reasoning? First, she was in the United States, meaning jurisdiction was possible.
The publication of Jessica Reed Krause's House in Habit investigation into Meghan Markle's Yacht Girl past, which she has promised and has spent 6 years working on. And I am licking my lips in anticipation for when she dropped.
Second, and this is important, he suggested she might have had relevant information due to her position around royal circles at the time. But let's draw a clear line here. This was a legal consideration, not an accusation. No deposition happened, no testimony was taken, and no evidence was presented showing Meghan had any direct involvement in that case.
In my opinion, in my analysis, and my experience of decades, this kind of analysis for me is the real deal. If a photo such as this of Meghan Markle with Prince Andrew years ago surfaces, that will be quite an scandal.
So what you're looking at is not proof of anything. It's a moment where a high-profile legal team explored every possible angle, and her name came up in that context. And that distinction matters, because once you blur it, you're no longer dealing with facts. You're building a narrative that doesn't actually hold up under pressure. Seen what he did? Or at least heard people talk about it. That's how David Boies framed it in his interview. He laid out why his legal team considered Meghan Markle as a potential witness in the case involving Virginia Giuffre and Prince Andrew. But let's slow that down, because this part gets misunderstood fast.
I wonder if Prince Andrew's going to come out and say, hey, Harry, I did your wife quite a few times on yachts before you.
Boies said his team only planned around 10 to 12 depositions total. That's limited, strategic, every name matters. So yes, Meghan being mentioned wasn't random. But here's the key distinction. This was legal due diligence, not proof of involvement, not evidence of wrongdoing, and not confirmation of any direct connection. At the same time, Boies explicitly ruled out deposing Queen Elizabeth II, citing respect and her age.
Social circle that are in the same social circle as Andrew.
So the contrast made headlines, but headlines don't equal facts. What actually happened? A high-profile attorney explored whether someone might have relevant insight based on their position around certain social circles. That's it. No deposition followed, no testimony was taken, and no verified evidence ever placed Meghan as a direct witness to anything in that case. Now look at how the timeline unfolded.
I think that's the whole issue, that they were globally, and they are globally known, but because of the way they behaved in the last 4 or 5 years, and as the price of betrayal, their reputation and their status and their fortunes are crumbling.
On January 12th, 2022, Judge Lewis Kaplan denied Andrew's motion to dismiss. The case was moving forward, discovery phase, depositions approaching. 5 weeks later, February 15th, 2022, Andrew settled the case, reportedly for around £12 million. That decision ended the legal process before any of those potential witness discussions could even materialize. So Meghan was never called, never questioned, never involved in proceedings? And that matters? Because everything beyond that point becomes interpretation, not documented fact.
Sussexes only will talk to people who repeat their own narrative.
Yes.
And who they can control. So the idea that you can get the truth from the Sussexes is contradictory.
Now, there's another layer people try to build on top of this. They point to overlapping networks, places like Soho House, figures like Marcus Anderson, and investors like Ron Burkle, whose name has appeared in records connected to Jeffrey Epstein. But here's the reality check. Overlapping social circles do not equal direct relationships. Elite networks are exactly that. Networks, people cross paths, attend the same events, know the same intermediaries, without sharing involvement in each other's actions. So yes, the lawyer looked at proximity. Yes, the timeline is real, but turning that into a confirmed connection, that's where the argument stops holding up under pressure. David Boies said it publicly dead in print in the Daily Beast. And here's the part that stands out. Meghan Markle has never directly addressed those specific remarks. Now pause, because this is where people usually jump too far. This isn't about proving allegations. It's about a pattern in how responses are handled. The Sussexes do respond when they want to. No comment, no direct denial, no legal response, just silence. But let's be careful here, because this is where narratives get stretched. Silence doesn't automatically mean guilt. It doesn't confirm anything on its own. What it does do is create a vacuum. And when that vacuum sits next to aggressive pushback, attacking authors, questioning motives, dismissing entire books, it stands out, not as proof, but as a pattern people start to notice. So here's where things actually stand. The legal case involving Prince Andrew escalated in early 2022 after filings tied to Jeffrey Epstein were made public. Within weeks, the conversation around elite networks, connections, and past associations started gaining traction again. At the same time, commentary that had mostly lived in independent media began edging into more established platforms. A columnist in The Spectator raises questions in print. Dan Wooten discusses similar themes on his Substack. And then Betrayal, written by Tom Bauer, enters the picture, serialized in the Times, reviewed across major outlets, and suddenly part of the mainstream conversation. That shift matters, not because it proves any individual claim, but because it changes what media is willing to discuss. That's the real story here, the movement of the conversation itself. Even Jack Royston pointed out the risk of the Streisand effect, arguing that publicly attacking the book could drive more attention to it instead of less. And that's exactly what happened. Interest spikes, rankings climb, more people start digging. Now step back for a second. Everything we're looking at, names, timelines, interviews, public statements, it's all drawn from reporting that's already out there. No one here was in those private rooms. No one has access to full context behind closed doors. So what are we actually left with? A series of documented moments. A columnist raises a controversial question in print. A senior attorney, David Boies, publicly considers someone as a potential witness. Industry figures and commentators weigh in on reputation and brand impact. And in response, strong denials of some narratives and silence on others. That combination doesn't prove a hidden truth, but it does shape how the story evolves. Because public perception isn't built only on confirmed facts. It's built on what gets repeated, what gets challenged, and what gets left unanswered. And once a topic crosses into mainstream coverage, with editors, legal review, and institutional backing, it doesn't just disappear overnight. Now here's where things get even more interesting. Because the yacht discussion, that's only one piece of a much bigger picture. There are multiple individuals across different countries over several years who've tried to put parts of this story into the public record. Some faced pushback, some were ignored, some gained traction later. And when you line those moments up side by side, it raises a different kind of question. Not, is this proven? But why do certain narratives surface, disappear, and then resurface again later? That's not something you answer with a single clip or headline. That's something you track over time. And that's exactly where this is heading next.